Let's get ready to rumble. Hello and welcome to Digital Photo Mentor Live. Today I'm going to be doing full image edits on at least 2 images. We'll see how many we get done, but we're going to do 1 landscape and 1 night photo. So if you are new to Digital Photo Mentor and our channel, welcome. Tell us where you're joining in from in the live chat, which you'll find either on the side, somewhere on the side or below, depending on how you have your panel aligned. And I would love to know what you're most excited to see today, because I'm going to be doing Luminar Neo start to finish. My workflow is usually Lightroom to do the beginning edits, and then I take it to Luminar to finish. But we have a lot of new students in our Luminar Neo course, and if that includes you, I'm glad you're here. And I wanted to demonstrate a full edit just using Luminar Neo to show you that it is possible to do everything that you need to do for your images just using Luminar Neo. So if you're like me and you use Lightroom at the beginning, you can still do that and then use some of the tools in Luminar Neo that I'm going to demonstrate today to finish your images. And I've chosen landscape and night photography because I did a poll in our DPM community, and those are the topics that people wanted to see. So if you voted, I've listened, and these are the images we're going to do today. I also find that there are 2 that really lend themselves really well to showing some of the really powerful tools inside of Luminar Neo. Some of the tools you don't have anywhere else. So for example, color harmony, which includes a color contrast slider that is one of my favorites. And I'll show you how I use that, especially on night photos, because it works really great on images that have color, opposite colors, so complementary colors. So let's see where everybody is joining in from today. Ciao from Orlando. I've already seen Spain, and Kevin's in the house. He's in Edmonton as well. Canada, where in Canada? Flat Top. It's a big place. I'm in Canada as well. Marlene is in Swift Current. Michigan. Brisbane, welcome. What time is it, Ross, in Brisbane today? San Diego, new student, also new student. Brent, welcome. From the UK, I would like to learn about using Luminar Neo throughout. We're going to do that, Robert. So you're in the right place. Sydney, Australia, and Marguerite from Ontario. She's a regular and one of our regular DPM community members. So without further ado, let me hop over to a different screen here, and I think this should be what I want. There we go. Before I do that, how's my audio sync today? Is it good? Is it out? I can see if I can adjust it a little bit. Selwyn's here. Awesome. Good to see you. Donald from Richland, Washington. Awesome. We've been to that part of the country. Southern New Mexico. Awesome. So audio, how's my audio? Are my lips in sync? 100... 900 in Brisbane, 10 in Sydney. Oh, 9 o'clock in Brisbane, 10 in Sydney. Gotcha. Oh, 900. Oh, awesome. Okay, my sync is good. All right, so I'm going to come back here and make my head small so that you can see the images. Now, we're going to do a couple of different images, and like I said, we've got some options here. So I've chosen a landscape that I shot in Japan, because I don't do a lot of landscape photography, so for me to come up with landscapes, I don't have a lot to choose from, unless I go to a stock image, but I wanted to start from raw. And I chose this particular set of images because I actually bracketed and did HDR with them. And I want to do two different edits here on this one because I've got a set of the brackets. So you can see here, this was shot really early morning in Japan with Mount Fuji. We got there at about 5 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. before the sunset. And I put these boats in the foreground. You'll see it better in a brighter image. But you can see I shot this one at -2 exposure compensation. This one is at 0. You can see right here. And this is the brightest one, right? So the middle exposure is actually pretty good, and I could probably just work on this single image, but I bracketed because I wanted to have as much detail in the shadows and the highlights as possible. And that's often an issue when you're doing landscape photography, especially when the sun comes up and you've got like a sunrise or a sunset. This is more blue hour, so it's not as contrasty. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an HDR edit, and then I'm going to do just a single edit on this image, and we're actually going to copy and paste the settings and see how close they get, right? I also did a vertical version. Okay, so here's the vertical one. And I might actually work on this one because I haven't done this set of images. I've done the horizontal one before. So I might work on this one. It's the same scene, just more sky in this one. Okay, and I'll show you the finished image. So I've already run this one through HDR just to speed things up because it did take a little while to run it through here. But I'm going to show you the start and the finish. I edited this already, like I said, in Lightroom. And this was what I got in Lightroom when I did a merged HDR and did some edits. Okay, so again, you don't have to use Lightroom. I'm just showing you the before and after. So, oh, the before is really bland. There we go. So before and after. Again, this was an HDR merge done in Lightroom, and then I did some edits. Then I did a slightly different edit. I, straightened the horizon and changed the color a little bit, okay? Then I took this image to Luminar because I wanted to try the twilight enhancer to give it a bit different color on the sky, more of a sunrise color. And another version again, which I felt was probably my favorite one. Okay, so it gave me more options, and this one was done through Photoshop. That's my workflow from Lightroom. I exit from Lightroom to a smart object in Photoshop, and that's all demonstrated in the Luminar course. So if you have that, that will be coming up in a future lesson where I talk about using Luminar as a plugin. But for today, we're going to go just Luminar, and I've already run it through the HDR module. Okay, so if you want me to just show you how to do that to start, okay, so you literally just select your brackets if you've done some bracketing. Actually, I'll do it with this set, okay, and drop it into the HDR merge module. Okay, now you can actually do batch HDR. So if I dropped both sets in, it would merge them both. So let me show you that. Okay, so I can drop those in as well, and then I can just check off batch and my options here. Okay, so the options for HDR merge module are in here. I always do auto alignment, even though I shot these on a tripod. I always do chromatic aberration, and ghost reduction really depends on whether or not you have anything moving in your scene, like people walking through cars, etc., or even clouds or trees moving. And I don't in this one, so I'm going to leave it off. And I am going to do distortion correction. So when you're using a wide lens, you get some distortion on the edges, which can make the horizon look kind of warped, especially when you're trying to merge things together in a pano. And I'll show you that one as well, because I did a pano merge of the same scene. Okay. And then when we merge these, I'm just going to click this and you'll see the scene here. It comes up and it shows me the sets of images that it's going to merge. Okay. Now I'm not actually going to merge this set because I've already done that, but I am going to merge this set. Okay. So it may take a minute for it to do these. And while it's merging, I'm just going to come back here and see if there's any questions. So just a quick survey. Maybe you could put a poll in, can you do a poll in the chat, Rob? I can't know. I think that's a Zoom thing, right? Or can you do a poll? I'm just going to do a quick informal poll. Say, okay. Informal poll. If you are using, tell me what is your main photo editor. Are you using Lightroom predominantly and then using Luminar as a plugin, or are you using Luminar standalone? So just tell me if you're using Luminar plugin or Luminar standalone, right? Kevin Berlin in New Jersey. So not in Berlin, but in New Jersey. Red Deer. Welcome, Diane. Duncan, Vancouver Island. I know where that is. Scotland. I have Scottish blood as well, Martin. My family is from Scotland. I even have a tartan. My family name is Maine on my mom's side. Ray, welcome. Port Orford, Alabama. Roy, nice to see you. Luminar standalone. Luminar, awesome. A plugin. Luminar with Apple Photos. Okay, good to know, Marco. Marsha as a plugin. Yeah, so you see the HDR thing is still taking a little bit of time to do its merge, which is why we're kind of just talking it through here. Luminar alone, Luminar plugin. And next question, how many of you just got my Luminar Neo course? Okay, and if you don't have the course, say that as well. So we just kind of want to get an idea of, who's watching and what you've got. Only going to use Luminar. Awesome. I may end up canceling this because this one is taking a really long time. Okay, so for those of you that are using the plugin, I'm just going to show you a quick trick here while that's still merging. Okay, so if you are using the plugin and you want to use the HDR merge in Luminar, not in Lightroom, okay, I'm just going to go to the folder here where my original images are. Okay, so here's my original images and the brackets. Okay, so if you want to open a set of images as brackets in Lightroom, let me see here. Okay, so you just select them. Oh, I don't want that one. And you go right click, photo merge, HDR. Okay, and then you get the familiar HDR merge panel inside of Lightroom. If you want to use the Luminar version, now this is a question that comes up a lot because if you choose an image and you say edit in and you go to Luminar, it's going to open these images individually as a plugin and you can't get to the catalog. Okay, so you have to get to it a different way. You have to go export and then find Luminar Neo, HDR merge. Another question that has come up this week among my students is the new restoration module that was just added isn't in here yet. And there isn't a way to get your scanned old photos that you want to restore from Lightroom into Luminar in the restore module yet. But I'm guessing that that's something that they're going to be adding very soon because there's been a fair number of requests for it. And I don't see why they wouldn't add it because they've got focus stacking, HDR merge, stitch to panorama, and upscale here. The only ones you can't get to are the generative tools this way, but there's also a workaround here, okay? Because if you want to open an image into the restoration panel, you can still do the export and just do open source file, and it will take your raw file over to Luminar Neo. Okay, so there is a bit of a workaround. So let's just go back to Luminar and see if our merge is done yet. Oh my goodness, I should have merged this one earlier as well. Donald does not have the course. Kevin's just starting. Roy, standalone. Haven't bought Luminar yet. Probably will today while it's still on sale. If you do that, Marlene, use this code that I'm putting in the chat, DPM10. That's our discount code because I'm a Skylum ambassador. That's our discount code. And when you use that, you get an additional 10% off, even off of the sale price. Okay. This is just taking too long, so I'm going to cancel out of this for now, and let's just work on this one, okay? So this is already my merged HDR image, and you could tell that because of the extension on the file name here. So all I did was I ran it through the HDR module earlier, the 3 images that I showed you, okay? So this is what it's given me, and when you take it into the edit module, okay, and I use a lot of keyboard shortcuts to move around inside of Luminar Neo. If you have my course, then you probably also have the Luminar Neo cheat sheet, keyboards cheat sheet. If you don't, Rob will share a link in the chat for you to get the PDF of the cheat sheet that you can download and save to your computer so that you have that handy. You can print it out and have it. So I use a lot of keyboard shortcuts. The one that I just used here, so L gets you back to the library or the catalog. And I always mix these up because one is different. It's different on Lightroom, so I mixed them up. E takes you to edit, which makes sense. E for edit. Okay. Now you'll notice one thing. When we get here, it does not say develop raw anymore because it's now a merged HDR TIFF. Okay. So I could come back here to one of the single images, right? Just to show you the difference. And now we see develop raw. Okay. So we could work on either one of these. I wanted to show you the HDR process, right? And doing it this way. And the version of saving it to the original. Okay, so this is the single images. So we're going to work on the HDR one. So even though it doesn't say develop raw, we have all of the tools except chromatic aberration reduction, which, if you recall, I checked off in the HDR settings. Okay, so that's why I checked that off there, because I can't get to it in here because it doesn't exist in develop under optics. Okay, it's only under develop raw. Before I do anything, so this is my general workflow start to finish, okay? So if I have to do HDR, that's going to be first, okay? Then you're always going to come to develop, whether it's develop or develop raw. And somewhere early in my process, I'm going to crop, okay? So the first thing I want to do is straighten this horizon. And you can see that it kind of looks, you know, distorted here a little bit, but I'm just going to click horizon straighten. That doesn't look any better, so I'm just going to eyeball it, right? So I'm just eyeballing it. Now, when you click on it and start dragging it, you'll see the grid show up. And now I'm just kind of trying to use the horizon in these squares and get one side of the lake even to the other side of the lake, right? Then I'll consider artistic cropping. Do I want to leave the original aspect ratio, in which case you don't have to do anything. It's locked, right? If you want to change the aspect ratio, you can do that here with freeform, right? In this one, I don't think I want to take anything off the image, maybe a little bit off the bottom. Why I would take some off of the bottom here is because there's a lot of empty space here, right? And yes, I'll be taking some of the boat off, but I want to get rid of this empty space, right? So it just brings in Fuji a little bit closer, okay? So I want to really focus on the boats and the leading lines coming up to Fuji. The other thing that I didn't do previously, but I'm considering doing this time, is flipping the image, right? When I flip it, you could flip an image just about any time, as long as you don't have something with words on it. Now, there are sort of words here or letters, but they're so faded out that we can't really tell. And I just had this idea because this boat is really leading us into the reflection, which leads us right to Fuji, right? So use the leading lines to lead you to the subject. This one frames it nicely as well, but let's see what happens when we flip this guy, right? So I kind of like that, actually. I've not flipped this one previously, but I kind of think I like it better, right? I still feel like it's crooked. Maybe it was better straight. Maybe better the other way. Okay, there we go. That looks better. Okay, so once I get the crop, now I'm going to go into develop. And the next thing I need to do is make sure your histogram is open. Okay, if you don't see the histogram, it's going to be under the view menu. I'm on a Mac. Okay, so I have a window or a menu at the top. If you do not see this, you're on Windows, you just have to go from here, right? And then you'll see file, edit, and all those things under here if you're on Windows. Okay, so on Mac, you will see it here. So hide and show the histogram. Okay, so the histogram is key because it tells me where the tones in the image fall. And then the keyboard shortcut to show clipping warnings is J, right? Or you can just click on these little circles on the actual histogram, okay? Again, I don't think you can do clippings that way. No, you have to either use the keyboard shortcut or these dots here. Now you can see that there's a little bit of white clipping in the sky. So what that means is it's off the graph at the top and there's no detail there. So I want to control the highlights, okay? And just by pulling the highlights down, you can notice I've already gotten rid of that problem. In terms of clipping on the black side, I actually want more. So for highlights, you want to keep the detail. If I had the actual sun in here, I would let it clip and because it's a light source. And with blacks, I want to show you something else here. So when you have no blacks, I'm going to get rid of them completely. So let's just move our shadows up. So we have almost no black. Okay. Okay, look at the image. Now watch what happens when I add some shadows and some black. Do you see the color enhancement? When you have shadows and specifically black, your colors get enhanced. So whatever color you have in the scene will be enhanced. Right? You don't have to play with saturation and vibrance to get more color. Right? Now I've gone to the color tab. We're still in develop. Okay. I've gone to the color tab and I want to add some blue. So we could go either way with this one. And as you saw from my afters before, I did one where it was warmer and I did one where it was cooler, right? Be careful of, making what I call neon puke, but it was blue hour and it was more like this tone, okay? So maybe I'll add a little bit of a magenta as well, okay? And I don't do saturation and vibrance. If anything, I use these sliders to go negative, okay? Because this one has been HDR'd, or as a verb, right? It's got very little shadows, right? So we've got lots of detail everywhere. So that's why I might actually bring the shadows down a little bit, okay? Because we've lost some contrast in the HDR conversion. Let's check the clipping again. So that's why I use the keyboard shortcuts a lot. Okay, so we're still not clipping any blacks. So I might just do what's called an S curve, right, to add some more contrast. So we lowered the contrast with the HDR, and now I'm just putting a little bit back, okay? Rob, can you please share a link for the video that I did on curves alone? Because that's a really powerful tool, right? So please do that video, right? So let's see where we're at so far. So before and after, right? So we're already getting really close. So the other things that I would do inside of Develop Raw, again, if you are using Develop Raw, I would use just chromatic aberration here. Transform, I don't really need to transform anything because this is not a building, but this is the one that shifts, the perspective, and I'm not going to do that in this case. I want the wide angle perspective, okay? If you had some noise, you could also do a little bit of noise reduction here. I usually don't, just because I would use noiseless raw, but again, this was shot at very low ISO on a tripod, right? So when you're doing landscape, that's the other thing, is time of day also matters. So we'll talk about a little photography a little bit as well. Time of day matters, which is why we were here at 5 a.m. to get the blue hour as the sunrise came up, and so that there wasn't a million people on this beach full of tourists, okay? And the light matters, okay? So which is why we're there, okay? So shoot raw if you can. Shoot with a tripod, ideally, right? And you're using a low ISO, right? So if we look at this one, I'm just going to go back to the library module. You can see ISO 200, f16 for 1 second, right? So at 1 second is not a problem when you're using your tripod and there's nothing moving, right? Might have gotten a little bit of cloud movement, but that's okay because then it would blur it. The next thing that I would do, and this is why I do cropping first, is to go and erase some things that are bothering me. Okay, so this it's a rock or a duck or something, and then there's all of these little speckles, another rock here, just cleaning up the edge. Those kinds of things I do early in the editing as well, clean up, because if I'm doing any color enhancement or it's mystical, which is a nice soft blur. I want to do those on top of what I've erased. Okay, so I want those things to apply where I've erased. So I'm going to do remove dust spots and see if it picks up any of those things on the water. Let's just have a look. Nope. Okay, so I'm going to have to do these one by one, right? So I will just go through and get rid of the things that I want to get rid of. Again, I'm using keyboard shortcuts to resize the brush. That's the square bracket keys. Now, I don't like this thing right here. I might clone it, but let's see what happens if I erase it. It did a good job. Okay, so anything that I feel that is going to be distracting, if you are doing a camera club competition or entering a contest, you have to be really clear on the rules, because there are a lot of competitions, especially for camera clubs and things, that don't allow you to clone anything out, right? Which is a shame in a way. Like, I understand why they want to, keep things natural, but what if there's bugs like this on the water, okay? You can't get rid of them any other way, right? This is an artistic choice, removing these rocks in the water, okay? And I do it because they're distracting, right? I'm just going to get out of erase here, right? The other thing that I do with the crop tool, and I forgot to demonstrate this, is I will look at the image upside down, okay? Before I do anything else. That's funny because we still see the mountain. That's actually funny. I could share it like this and really mess with people, right? I look at the image upside down, and what that does is where your eye goes upside down is where your eye is going to go, or where your viewer's eye is going to go right side up. And here, it's for me, it's this corner here, okay? This corner here and here. So I want my eye to go to the mountain and back and forth between the mountain and the boat. So I know that I'm going to need to tone down this upper corner, okay? So that's what looking at your image upside down does. Rob, if you could please share the upside down, or the, upside down trick video as well. So I have a whole video on that. If you are new to Luminar Neo, you'll notice that there's a favorites tab at the top here. If you don't see favorites, it's because you haven't added any. Okay, so I've added 4 tools to my favorites, and I've added ones that are down at the bottom. Okay, I'm not going to be using any portrait ones, but say for example, these ones here, I have to clone all the way down to the bottom to get to these things, right? And one of those is color harmony, which I'm actually going to use next. Okay, so I put them in my favorites, and you can do that just by right-clicking on any of the tools on the name and add to favorites. So for example, dodge and burn. My pet peeve is that it disappears from here. Okay, so if any of your tools are missing, okay, and you see that up at the top, open the favorites. You click it by you open it by clicking on the name, okay, and you can see dodge and burn there. And if you want to remove it and put it back where it was, right click it again and remove it. I wish they would leave it where it was and put it in favorites, but that's something that we can suggest to Skylum as a feature request. It's a minor thing, okay? So I would do a little bit more erasing, just to get rid of a few, again, clean up a few little spots. So anything that I feel like that is distracting, right? And I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but you get the idea, okay? So I do my cleanup first, okay? Even things like, you see this building up here, this red roof, I might even just get rid of it, okay? Because it bugs me and it doesn't sort of match. So those are the types of things that I clean up, okay? Landscape photographers are like really meticulous about having things clean. And if you're doing landscape as an artistic endeavor, you know, then the sky's the limit. You get to decide how much editing you do and how much you don't, okay? To move around in the image, all I'm doing is I use a magic mouse on Mac. So I'm just literally touching my mouse. If you have a scroll wheel, I'm not sure if that would work, but you can also just press the space bar, and then grab the image and move it around. That's a question I get a lot in my course as well. So I'm just looking for anything that is sort of standing out that I want to get rid of, okay? Let's see the boats. Is there anything? And stuff might come up later. You know, if there's like bird poop or something, I'll remove that. Okay. But for now, that looks pretty good to me. Okay. So now let's go into color harmony, which is this one that I told you about. This is one of my favorites. So color contrast is the second one down. Okay. So these are all panels that you can open. Okay. Color contrast, when you drag it up, it increases contrast of whatever hue you're over top of here and darkens the opposite color. Okay, so let me put it over blue. Okay, I'm going to take it to extreme. So it's lightening and adding contrast to blue and darkening yellow, which in this case is the boats. If we're over yellow, okay, it's brightening the yellow and adding contrast and darkening the blue. Okay, which in this case actually is kind of nice, right? Look at how much drama we can create. Okay, let's try pink or green. Right, so you can do a before and after on the tool, right, with the eyeball. So actually, this is like kind of good because it's really helping us solve this problem up here. Right, it's gone a little too bright. So that's why I'm always using my keyboard shortcuts, constantly checking the clippings, because look at what's happening. When I drag this up, right, I'm getting some clipping in the sky. Okay, so I have to be careful or come back and adjust that another way, right? But look at this. It's very dramatic, okay? It's really, really blue, right? We can warm it up overall with this slider, right? Be careful of going too far with these kinds of things. This is too far, but I'm take it far to see the color. I get the color that I want. So I'm just making note that it's at 98, right? So I just kind of go like this and go, okay, what is it doing? This is cool, right? Like what effect do I want it to have? Because it's totally different at one end of the spectrum, versus the other. I kind of like it over here on like green yellow. And once I get the color, then I'll dial the intensity back. Okay. Warmness here is overall the whole image. So again, I just go both ways, right? So I have an idea of what I want. I want it more pink and blue. So if I go this way, it's cooling the whole image off, right? Which gives me some more of that pink. And then I'm just going to make sure I'm not going over the top. So brilliance is vibrance, okay? Or intensity of color. So I want to make sure I'm not going over the top, right? These ones down here, okay, under split color warmth are really cool as well. So anything that is a warm tone. So warm tones, as you can see by this scale here, are like green, oranges, and yellows, okay? So if I go this way, it's going to make those tones even warmer, okay? So watch the sky, okay? It's also picking up some pink in the boat, which I'm not crazy about, but going a little bit this direction is nice. Okay, cool tones are like purple, blue, cyan. Okay, and if we go this way, we get more purple. If we go this way, we get more cyan. Okay, so again, it's an artistic choice. I kind of like more purple, right? Under color balance, now we can just go really creative, okay? This is one that a lot of people miss out on or forget that's here. So if I go to highlights, it allows us to shift the colors of the shadows, midtones, and highlights separately, okay? So I can add magenta to the highlights, okay? So see what that's doing. Again, don't go too far. Or yellow, blue, right? Is that, ooh, the red is kind of nice. Notice how, again, we're getting that clipping, but I can fix that with a second application of develop. Okay, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay. I can also add some blue into the shadows. Okay, so now we're starting to get a little bit oversaturated, which is why I come back to this brilliant slider. Okay, so this is just with this color harmony tool. So look at how gray the image looks to begin with, and look at where we're at now. Okay, so this to me is a little over the top. So I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to bring this down. So I'm just going to kind of take everything down a little step. Okay, so everything that I did, just bring it down a tiny bit. There we go. Now I still have that problem in the sky. So I'm going to come back to develop. So once you have done let's say you're working on a raw image, you'll see develop raw down at the bottom here. Once you apply any other tool on top of it, all your edits appear here in the order that you applied them from the bottom up, okay? Once you apply develop raw, now you'll have develop, okay, which is what we did a minute ago, but it allows you to mask it, okay? So if I want to bring the highlights down on the sky, so look what that's doing on the sky, right? And I think the color is going a little bit wonky, so I want to keep it subtle, right? But I only want that applying on the sky because it's making the rest of the image look flat, okay? So I have masking tools inside of Luminar to help me do that. Now I could apply it to just Mask AI and choose sky, so let's see how that works, okay? So Mask AI analyzes your image, and then comes up with these different elements, okay? So I can apply it to natural ground. Hopefully it hovers over, changes when I hover over. No. Right, so sky, right? It didn't pick up all of the sky. Mountains, right? Natural ground. So it really helps you. It's not perfect, but it gets really close, right? Water. That one is actually pretty good. So I'm going to go with sky, but then I'm going to add a linear mask on top of it. Okay, so you can add masks to each other. Okay, so I'm going to add a linear gradient, which is from the edge down. This is how much it fades. So the further apart your lines are, the more that it fades from here to here. So it's a softer gradation of this edit. But I want to get it right along the horizon like that. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm getting all of those highlights. So I could have just done a linear gradient in the first part. Okay, so there we're only applying to the sky now and not this stuff down here. Okay, I might even lower the exposure a tiny bit, like so. Okay, now the boat itself is really bright along this edge here. So I'm going to add to this mask a little bit with a brush. So you can continue modifying your mask, right? And I'm going to get a nice small brush. Again, this is why I use the square bracket keys to size my brush, because I just want to paint along the edge of the boat here, right? So I want to start here because I want to darken this white part. Okay, so it's taking up a little too much attention, and maybe even along here, just get these highlights to come down a little bit. And this one. Okay, so let's just see what that's doing. See, it's darkening the edge of the boat as well. Now I see that I overpainted here on the water, so I'll just switch to erase. And you can switch to erase actually by pressing X. Watch what happens when I press X. See, it goes from paint to erase. Okay, so now I've darkened the sky and the white parts of the boat. Okay, so when I close develop, that is now applied. Okay, so far, there's our before and after. I use the backslash key, which is right above return or enter on your keyboard. You can also use the eyeball. Okay, you can also do the split screen and see before and after that way. Okay, so look at what a huge difference, and I've only used develop in terms of color harmony, and develop again. Okay, I haven't even touched tools like Twilight Enhancer. Okay, now again, that was one of my favorites, color harmony. It works really great when you have complementary colors or opposite colors. Okay, now let's go into the landscape section of tools. Creative has some really great ones as well, but landscape ones are made specifically for this kind of image. So we can look at the water enhancer, and what this one is designed to do is to give us more blue or green in the water. Okay, in this case, I don't know that I want to specifically add a lot more blue in the water, but that's not bad. Okay, I want to keep some of the original color, okay, so it doesn't look quite so strange. Contrast will add more intensity, right? I'm actually going to lower the contrast because it's a reflection, so it should be a little softer than the original. So just a little subtle blue in the water, okay? Next, okay, now I'm going to go back up here into develop. I very rarely use Enhance AI, to be honest. Accent AI, I find, tends to go over the top like way too easily, right? We've done a lot of work to control the contrast already. This is adding it back in again, which I don't want, okay? Sky Enhancer tends to make what I call, again, neon puke. So I rarely, honestly, use this tool, okay? But it's handy if you want to do a quick edit, right? If you're doing a full edit like this, I tend to not use it. I'm going to add some structure now. So that I only want structure to apply in certain places. So I want to bring out the mountain and that boat a little bit, but not necessarily these rocks or the reflection. So we're going to need a mask. So again, I take my things to extreme just so that I can see the edits. Okay, so you have to apply the edits first, then go apply the mask. Now you could apply the mask first, but you can't see what's happening. Okay, so I'm going to use Mask AI because I know that I want it on the boats. Okay, so if I choose transport, it should give me the boats. Right, I know that I want it on the mountain, but I don't necessarily want it over here. Okay, so I want it on Fuji. Right, and it also hasn't picked up this boat. Okay, so maybe I don't want that boat. So it's kind of gone slightly wrong, but we can fix it with a brush. So I'm just going to erase over here and erase over here. So I don't have the parts that I didn't want selected. Okay. And then I'm going to do object select. Okay, so object select is great when you have something that has a really nice outline and something that didn't get picked up. I need to be on add. Okay, so if I want to try and get the whole boat, there we go. So notice how as I move over, it's picking up just parts of the boat. And then at some point, I got the whole boat. Okay, so that's when you click. So I'm not clicking until I get the part that I want. Okay, now I got the whole boat. Okay. And I'm going to erase. Again, I missed this part here. And what I might do is I want more attention on the mountain than the boats. So if I erase here at 50% strength, okay, with a big brush. So I'm just going to erase. Make sure you do one pass. So I'm not letting go. I'm doing one big pass, right? So now it's faded out. See that? Okay, so it's faded out. I saw a couple of other spots I wanted to get rid of. Okay. It's faded out that structure on the boats. Okay. I also see that it's got some of the water, so I don't want to add anything to the water. So now when I come back here, it's applying more strength to the mountain and less to the boats. And now that I've got my mask set, I can dial it back down. Okay. So I use the increase to get it where I want it so I can see it. And then I'll dial it back down. Okay, I'm going to come over here and see if there's any questions. Kevin says, curves video is excellent. Thanks, Kevin. Any questions? Lots of people using both. Did I stack them first? I did an HDR merge, Ray. I did an HDR merge. So that's not really considered stacking them. So if that's what you meant by stacking. Yes, I do have eagle eyes. Okay, so now we've got before and after. We're getting close, okay? I'm going to do a vignette next, and I do a vignette on almost every image that I create. And again, my trick for vignettes is take it dark, like really dark. Take the feather to -100 so you can see the outline. Then bring the size and the roundness to where you want them, and then position it, okay? So I want it off-centered. I want to darken more of that upper corner there. So I want to get the vignette. Notice I'm just, when you click, it moves the vignette around. Okay. So if you go in the middle of the image, start in the middle, and then just move your mouse down a little bit until you get it where you want it. So I want it about there. Okay. So the outer part that's really dark now is what's going to be darkened. Then I turn my feather up. I always am over 70 on this one for the most part. Okay. I shouldn't say always. And then I adjust the amount. Okay. Because you don't want to make a vignette that looks like this. Okay. So I see this a lot. Okay. So don't make a vignette that is a spotlight. Okay. So you want your vignette to only darken the edges, but not be obvious. So when the person looks at the image, they should not even know it's there. Okay. So see how subtle that is? I might even come in a little more. Okay. See how subtle that is? And when we turn it off, okay, you can't really tell there's a vignette there, but it's there. Okay. So you don't want to know it's there. You just want it to do its job. So now this area that was super bright and clipping is now handled. Okay. Doing the various things. Landscape. On this one, I wouldn't necessarily use any of these tools because we don't have, grass. But if you have foliage in your image, when you dial this one up, just a word of caution, you almost always need to bring this hue. I always bring it more towards yellow because I find that it just makes greens look like neon, okay? We could try golden hour in this one. And again, it's going a little over the top, so keep it gentle. And let's see what dehaze does. Okay, also a little over the top. So if anything, I would just do a tiny bit of golden hour on this one. And the two that I want to apply here are atmosphere and twilight enhancer. Because look at this, there's a little bit of layer of fog over the water here. And we got super lucky because Fuji was covered in cloud and then the cloud disappeared. And we got this beautiful reflection on this absolutely still lake. So I got super lucky. Okay. So I want to use atmosphere, which allows us to add some fog or haze into the image. So again, I'm going to take it up strong, right? And then first of all, I want to choose which of these I want to use because I want it only in this middle area, okay? And that's not doing anything. So layered fog is not going to work, right? See, that one might work, and if I just mask it. So far, either fog or mist, right? So these ones apply on the bottom part of the image, haze and layered, and fog and mist apply overall. I think I like mist slightly better. So I'm going to apply a strong amount, right? And I only want it in this middle section, okay? So my trick here is I'm going to use a radial gradient and just make it really skinny, okay? So I'm going to start there like that, okay? Even skinnier because I just want it coming across the water like that, okay? So I just want this fog here, okay? So now let's see what it looks like. See that? It's just adding to this sense of fog. Okay, so I can increase the brightness of it. Right? But notice now that I've added the fog, it doesn't have the same color, right? So the color is missing. So what do? Well, I should have applied this before doing all my color enhancements. Lesson learned. Or we can come back in here and do a twilight enhancer. This is another great addition recently into Luminar Neo. And I'm going to try the mauve one. So these presets that come with it, take it a little over the top, okay? I'm not crazy about what some of them do. But again, I can mask it just to this area, okay? If it's the color that I want, okay? So you have a choice here of setting the temperature and color for the sky, right? So I can add more red into the sky. Actually, that looks nice. Okay, so we're giving some pink and red. Okay, then we have the adjustments on the dawn. So dawn is, I'm going to place the sky. Where's my placement here? Sky horizon. Ah, see, look at that. Okay, so it's thinking the horizon is down here. So that's the first thing I got to do is figure out where the horizon is. Now I've got it placed for horizon. So make sure your horizon is set correctly. And under the dawn, which is the middle section here, I definitely want this one to have more color. And there we go, like that. Okay, so not so much on the upper one. I could probably just come in with some color as well. A scene relighting. Saturation adds the same color. Okay, so let's see. So I just want it on this middle section. So I'm going to do a mask again and do that same thing. Because I just want this color applying in this area. Oops. Like so, right? Let's see if that's working. See, it's giving me a little bit of color. I might have to play with the adjustment a little bit. Oh, there's some blue. Oh, there we go. There we go. How's that? It's just adding that color to that midsection. Okay, so I added the fog and a little bit of color on the fog. Still not giving me enough color in that area, but I'm not done yet. Okay, so there's our before and after. Okay. Now I'm finding that this blue has gone a little bit over the top for me, so I'm going to use the color tool. I wish that Luminar had a targeted tool like Lightroom does. It does not. However, I can just use the sliders. So I want to desaturate blue, right? See how it's affecting these blocks here. So I want to desaturate the blue, and I'm going to mask it, of course, to just that area. Okay. Notice how there's blue in even the boats. Okay, so I'm going to mask it just to there. Actually, I'm just going to do a minus saturation overall and then paste it where I want it painted in. Okay, so now I'm just going to use a brush, and I'm not really critical about sort of getting my painting exact. Okay, so I'm just painting in a little bit of desaturation on the areas that I feel that have gone a bit overboard. Right, so I feel like the sky up here has gone a little overboard. That looks better. Okay, so see how subtle that is? Okay, see what it's doing? It's affecting those areas. Okay, just subtle. Because I felt like it was going a little over the top. Okay, so now we've added our fog. Another new one, I haven't tried on this one yet, is light depth. Let's see what happens if we do light depth. I could light up the mountain. Where's our mountain? It's not picking up our mountain. Doesn't know there's a mountain back there. Is it doing anything? Interesting. It is not picking up our mountain. That's unfortunate. It's just all sky. I could mask it to the mountain. Okay, so let's do that. Let's mask it to Mask AI. Mountains. There we go. Again, it's not a perfect mask, right? So we would need to adjust that, and it caught this mountain again. Okay, so a lot of masking here. Oh, I found I got something weird over there too. Okay, and I'm just going to do a slight softening of the edge. So when you have a mask like this, the edge comes out often really hard. Okay, so you can see there's like a halo there. So you really want to watch for halos when you're doing stuff like this, right? It's still catching up. Okay, see where the mask has gone overboard, right? So I need to erase the part from the sky because that's what creates that halo. Okay, so watch out for halos. Those are an absolute giveaway that you've done some editing. Okay, so a big telltale sign is halo. So be very meticulous and zoom in like I'm doing. Okay, so when you're doing your masking, you know, zoom in and get your mask right. Get it right. That's better. Yeah, now I've noticed something over here. I noticed that I have a weird something over here, and it appeared at some point. So to get my edits back, see, I think I need to just erase. There's some kind of a weirdness over here. It looks like maybe a dust spot or something. Still processing. There we go. I'm just going to see what happens if I do that. There we go. Okay, so anytime you come back in the steps, as soon as you come back up to the top, all your edits will be applied. Okay, and then you just have to wait a moment where it says processing image, and then they'll appear. There, I fixed that issue over there. So I think we're getting really close to done. Okay. In this one, I would not do a sky replacement. I would not do sun rays because there isn't sun in this image. So you have to use those ones really sparingly. I'm still not happy with this color in here. Okay, so what I could do is come in and do toning, which adds color to the highlights, right? And pick up some of that pink. Actually, maybe it's more red. Again, I'm just trying to pick up this middle section here. Okay, so once again, I might just do a brush right across the middle just to add some of this color. Okay. So there's multiple different ways to do different things, right? You can add color a number of different ways. There's a little bit of pink. What color do we want it to be? Somewhere in there, I think. There we go. See that? And I might even do shadows and give it some blue in the shadows. There we go. There we go. See that? Okay, so there's multiple ways to affect or adjust color, and I've showed you a few of them. You can also use curves, which I demonstrate in that curves video. So this one is getting really close to finished. The only other thing that I think I might do on here is to do either mystical or glow. I tend to like mystical on landscape images, and it gives it this really soft, for lack of a better word, mystical glow, right? So it allows you to adjust the softness and I kind of like just the default that it gives us. We can also warm it up a little bit from here if we want, okay? So there's, again, more additions for color. Now we've got a beautiful, soft, colored image, okay? I still feel like this boat is taking too much attention, right? And we can check that by doing the upside down trick again, right? So when we look at it upside down, let's see where our eye goes. Okay, so tell me in the chat once this applies the crop. Let's give it a second. Oh my goodness. It's taking a while to apply the crop on this one, probably because I have so many tools. See, that's why you want to crop early as well. See, now it's still processing. There we go. So when we look at this one upside down, tell me where your eye goes. Does it go to the mountain or does it go to the boat first? Okay. And notice how the mountain, Fuji, is brighter and more contrasty than the reflection, which is what we want. And that is in part because of the edits we applied to just the mountain. But the boat is still picking up too much attention and taking too much attention, in my opinion, right? So I pressed F to get full screen like that. And then we just need to rotate it back again. That's probably going to take a second to give us back upside down. Oh, my nose is running. I apologize. Sorry, I'm just fixing my nose. So you don't need to see me. Okay. Applying the crop. Give it a second. There we go. Okay, so now I know that I still want to tone that boat down. So I'm going to do minus exposure, minus highlights, and I might even do minus whites. Oof. Now my saturation has gone crazy on that. Okay, then I'm just going to mask it in to the bottom half of the image. Okay, so if I want a bottom half, I'm just going to do a linear gradient up to about there. Okay. That's too dark. So I went too far. There we go. Okay, so let's see the difference. So it's just, again, adding this bottom vignette. And maybe I don't want it on all of those areas. So again, you can mask at any time. These are all non-destructive, so I don't want to darken the reflection. And I've maybe gone too dark on this one as well. It's mostly this middle boat that was the problem, right? So I'm erasing at 50% opacity. There we go. Okay. And I think we'll call that one done. Now I just saw another spot that I want to erase over here. I thought I got these ones. Maybe not. Wait. Oh, I did get these ones. For some reason, my erase on my second erase version isn't applying, which is interesting. We'll just do that. Now I would check through the boat again. I would zoom in. So whenever I'm doing edits like this, like erasing or masking, I would zoom in, okay? And I don't see any chromatic aberration, so that looks okay. Yeah, it's definitely missing the erases that I did on the second erase, but we'll just apply it, give it a second. So thoughts on this edit? What do you guys think? How does that look? Are we happy with the before and after? Okay, now if I want to go a different direction and change things, Luminar has what's called a virtual copy. So we can make a virtual copy. So all it does is it makes is another thumbnail, right? And then I can change the edits, okay? So if I want to go in here, it's going to take me a minute for it to load. I can go and change any of these things. So I can go all the way back to the beginning to develop, right? And we adjusted a certain color here. We could go warmer on this one. So let's say we want to go red on this one, okay? So then everything I do, right, is going to shift to a different color, right? Let my erase apply. Notice how it says processing image, so just be patient. So every time I apply another tool, from history. It's got to do its job. Okay. Now color harmony, this is where we're going to shift it. Okay. So instead of going this way, I'm going to go warm. Okay. I'm going to go warm and maybe like so. Okay. So split tone, we're going to warm it. And then color balance, again, we want to shift everything towards warm instead of cool. So double clicking any slider will reset it. Okay. So I want warm, warm, warm. Highlights are way too bright now. And let's just see where that's coming from. So I think that comes from down below. So if the, let's come back up here. Okay, so you can come back, and I do this a lot. I come all the way back down to the bottom because something is not looking right. So I'll come back down to the bottom to tweak my edit and then work my way up the edits, right? This one is still processing. Donna says, looks fabulous. Purple guy. Kevin is 2 thumbs up. Okay, so that looks better. Okay, when I come back to color harmony, it's going to take a minute to process all my erasing again because I want to make sure that I'm not going too far with this one because the sky was getting, see, something's happening here that's blowing it out. So I got to figure out where that's happening. Okay, is it here? Where is that happening? So somewhere along the way, it's getting out of control. Let's try that. Okay, so we definitely want to warm it up. And let's do actually midtones. We're going to warm the midtones. Okay, so we're getting warmer. Right, then I got developed to control those highlights again. Okay, again, it's still masked in. We got the water enhancer. We got the structure. I'm actually going to dial that one back a little bit. We got the vignette. So everything was copied over when I made the virtual copy, and we're just tweaking. Now I might do more golden hour. Okay, see that? Okay, there's our fog. There's our twilight enhancer, and let's do warmer. Okay, so again, this one this is only on the fog. Okay, but I'm going to actually clear the mask on this one so it fills the whole image. And let's just see what happens if we go with more of a golden hour. Okay, this is really over the top. Again, the presets tend to go a little too far for my liking. Okay, let's just dial it back a little bit. Let's make sure we got the horizon in the right place, which it's not. Okay, so it thinks the horizon is the edge of the lake here, which it's not. And we got color in there. So we're adding a lot more golden with this one. Okay. More golden. This one is, I think, adding color. What did we do on this one? If you're not sure where your mask is, just go down here. Okay, so this is tools. This is toning down the saturation a little bit. Right. This one I don't even care for. Now it's definitely lighting up the mountain. I'm going to dial that back a little bit. Okay, now we added pink to the highlights, but I'm going to change it to more red. And I don't know that I want blue in the shadows at all. Okay, there's our mystical. We'll make this one warmer. Okay, so all of these things build on top of each other. I still feel like that fog is not matching the color. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come in here on this step and delete the fog, okay, from the middle here, okay, because it's in the middle of the edit. And ideally, I would have put it before, okay, because I'm not liking the fog in here. Okay, it's still taking a minute to process, but I'm just going to remove that fog because I should have put it out earlier in the edit before I did the color adjustments. Now you can really see what happens in terms of, you know, the order that you do things matters, right? So just to repeat, that's why I generally do develop raw and crop early on, erase early on, and clearly I needed to do the atmosphere AI earlier as well. Okay. And you can go back and do, the toning down things later as you go. So this one's still taking a minute to apply. There we go. All of the edits. Okay. Now I feel like this boat is a little bit too dark. So I'm just going to scale the edits back that I made on this one. Right. So remember, we're darkening just a little bit. Right. So now we have a very different edit. So here's the second edit, right, which was maybe a couple of tweaks and shifting the color compared to the first edit. So the first one is very blue pink. Pink, too blue for my liking. I might even tweak it again, right? And the second one is very orange. And all I did was make a virtual copy and make a few changes, right? And when we come back in here, it should update this thumbnail for us in a minute. Thanks for coming, Marguerite. Okay, so there's our orange and our blue edit. Okay. And on top of that, if we're not happy, that we still have the option of doing things like adding toning, which is another one of my favorite tools under creative or mood, and that is a LUT. So if I want more sort of orange, I could find a nice one here under, teal and orange might be kind of neat. These go a little over the top. I've got lots of different presets or lots of different LUTs. Ooh, that one's kind of cool, actually. Right? Smoky. That one's kind of cool, too. Okay, so if we want something really different, right, play around with a LUT. Ooh, I kind of like that. That kind of feels like an old postcard, doesn't it? That's kind of cool. And on the blue one, I didn't really like this blue. It's kind of gone a little bit neon for me, especially on the mountain. So I find that often if you have a weird color, use the mood tool and find a LUT that solves the problem, right? For me, that's a quick fix a lot of times. Any questions about any of these tools that I've used? Put a question in the chat for me while I'm waiting for this one to update. And we're going to move on to... a lifetime edit. I've got one more edit to do. Questions. What did you have questions about the order of things? Anything about any of the tools that I used? Any tricks? Any keyboard shortcuts? What are your burning Luminar Neo questions of the day? Tell me in the chat. We've still got 50 of you watching, so I want to see at least 5 questions. So 10% of you come up with a question for me. Tell me you don't have any questions. So everything was perfectly clear and you understood it all. How's your coffee? I'm drinking. This is coffee. Well, I guess it's time to move to wine o'clock almost here. There's a question from Donna. Can you tell us what a LUT is? So a LUT is what it stands for, LUT, is a lookup table, and it's a I don't even know how to describe it in the theory, but it's a color, like a cinematic grading that you can apply to your image. Okay, so it's kind of like a camera profile. Okay, it's kind of like a camera profile in that it shifts different colors of things, and it allows you, as you saw when I applied it to that the orange toned one, you can dial in the amount, and it's like, if you've ever seen posters from like movies and things, it's often what they use, and it allows you to do a really similar color to your image or set of images. Okay, so you can apply a LUT. Another one is the color transfer tool, which I haven't used here, which we could do as well. This is taking a really long time for this one to load. So color transfer tool is another one that's really cool to pull the colors forward. Okay, now I'm just going to do a little trick here. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to see if I can copy these edits. Okay, let's get the adjustments loading. So I'm copying the adjustments from this image. Okay, and I'm going to paste it on this one in the middle here and just see how close it comes. Now, it's going to be off because the masking copies as well. But if it's close, okay, so there's some weird things in terms of masking here, right? And it's also really dark, so that's not really good. Let's try it on this one. So I definitely need to do some adjustments to the masking, okay? But does it get me closer? Okay, so obviously that's kind of a mess. So it looks like a mess. Yeah, didn't get me close on this one. So I'm going to say no on this one. Definitely not. Okay, so definitely not on these ones. Okay, so I'm just going to reset these two. That's another keyboard shortcut. And let's see if this one is finally loaded here. Tell me it's loading. Come on. I hope it doesn't crash. The challenge with doing shows like this where I'm working in Luminar Neo is my computer gets taxed. So it's not necessarily that Luminar Neo is running slowly. I am broadcasting across the internet to YouTube at the same time. So it's taxing on the computer. So that's what you're seeing here. Okay. I wanted to show you really quickly this pano. So this is the same scene. And I took the panos, I shot them vertically like this, okay, from left to right. So here's the first one, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seven, eight. So I took 8 shots. And what happened was I tried merging those in Lightroom and it didn't like them. It only merged these bottom 4 and it didn't like these ones at all. It said that they couldn't be merged. But when I put them into Luminar's pano stitching, I literally just dropped them in here and ran through. I got this, right? Now I chose to leave this bottom corner sort of with a cutoff here because I can fill that in with either cloning and just put some rocks in here, or I can use Gen Erase or Gen Swap to fill in that with some rocks, right? But it gave me a pretty good starting point for this pano image, and then you can still apply your edits from here. Again, once you run it through any of these modules, pano and HDR merge, you will get a TIFF. There has been some comments that people, you get a JPEG when you run it through restoration. And I'm not sure if that's just because it's trying to create more information. And I just don't know if it can do 16 bits of information, which is what a TIFF has. So it's a lot of information to create, okay? With Pano and HDR, you're going from raw files, which have more data. From restoration, you're usually going from a scanned JPEG or a scanned TIFF, okay? So if that question comes up. So I would do some editing on this one, and I'm just going to do like a super quick edit, okay? So we don't have develop raw, remember. I always check for the clipping warnings, okay? So J, let me just do a really quick edit. I would lift the shadows a bit. Let's brighten the whole thing. I'm still watching the clipping warnings, right? Like so. And I feel like I want a little more. There's starting to be some yellow over on the left, but I still want to have, like, I want it to feel more pink. So let's go with that morning pink and pink and blue tone, right? And we don't have chromatic aberration because I would have done that when I did the pano merge, right? And in this case, I will try Enhance AI just to see what it does, okay? Actually, it's not bad. You know, it's increasing the contrast. Sky, again, you have to be careful of this one. Keep it low, all right? But other than that, a couple of quick edits, and I'd have to go in and fill this bottom here. Not dodge and burn. Let's see if I can clone it in. Okay. I don't know if I can clone this in. I might have to try Gen Erase. Let's just go from here. So I'm cloning from this area. Come on. It takes a second for it to come in. I hope. This one takes a while. Come on. Has it done anything? It should be showing us something by now. So wherever you see this pattern, the white and gray squares, that means it's transparent or there's nothing there. So when I did, there we go. So when I did the pano merge, there was no data there. So I just chose to leave it transparent. And now I'm just cloning in at like 60%, as you can see, and I'm kind of coming from the side so that I'm trying to avoid repetitive patterns, because that's the main key. See, there's a repetitive pattern right there. Okay, that's another key that you've cloned. Okay, doesn't have to be perfect because it's on the edge of the image, but I want to get some rocks in there. Let's get this rock down here, and I've duplicated that rock too, so there we go. That's better. Okay, so it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but let me see if I can get it fairly decent. Okay. Again, I cloned another stick in there. Oh, I missed the corner. See, I was moved over, so pretend I filled in the corner, okay? And I would probably do things like remove this rock as well on the edge, but otherwise, you know, there's my panel. I might even crop in a little bit, okay? So another option for landscape. So let's move down into the realm of the night image. And there's a couple of things that I want to show you. So these ones, a couple of these I've edited previously in Lightroom. Where are we here? So I just want to show you the finished version again. Okay. So this is one that I did. I shot in Paris, and this one here, I did some adjustments to correct the perspective on the buildings. Okay, so you could see that it's shifting the buildings, getting rid of some of the yellow, and that the before image, you see these starbursts are there because I shot this at f/22. Okay, so I didn't add them. Okay, but I want to show you how to add starbursts if you don't have those. So this is a similar image, okay, from that same shoot, from that same street, and you could see the original, and this is a raw file. You can see the original does have the starbursts, okay? But what if I shot, like this one was shot a little bit earlier and the lights hadn't come on yet. So there's no starbursts here other than on the traffic light, okay? So I used a long exposure, right? Again, if you want to see your exposure, this is 3 seconds, ISO 200, f/16, okay? And we have develop raw now. So let's start there, okay? Develop raw should show your camera profiles in here. Okay, now I've added mine as custom because I shoot Fuji and they don't automatically come in. Okay, so Fuji has a little bit of a trick. Actually, I don't mind the Adobe one or let's try Adobe standard. It's pretty close to the Luminar one. I'm going to go with the Luminar default on this one because I like the color better. And what I want to look at is brighten the shadows a little bit. So I'm going to give it a little bit of exposure overall. Brighten the shadows a little bit. But it's nighttime, so I don't want to do this, okay? So one thing you want to avoid is making something that looks like this, okay? So often, like what I call neon puke, this is not a night photo, okay? So I can add some more black in here, but we've gone so extreme in adjusting things that you've got like weird halos. So this is a halo around the sky. We also have chromatic aberration on this one, so I can show you this one. Okay, see this little green fringe here? Remember I said develop raw is the only place you can remove that? It's a checkbox, okay? So when I check it, see that green fringe is gone? Let me do it again. Watch the edge of the building right here. Okay, when I turn it off, green, turn it on, green is gone, okay? There also might be a fringe, so if you see another color, you can check off auto defringe as well, which I did here, okay? So make sure you're not getting any of these weird color halos, right? Use the auto chromatic aberration fix to solve that, but don't go overboard with adjusting things and trying to make it look like daytime, okay? It's not daytime, it's nighttime. I shot it at night on purpose, right? So clipping warnings, there's really not anything clipping. I want black, okay? little bit of clipping in the highlights, but these are the light sources inside this building here. And what I'm going to do is adjust them separately on another version of Develop, because I don't want to drag the highlights down too far, because that's when I get the sky halo. Okay, so these are what's called global edits, right? Develop raw does not allow you to mask. This is another confusion that happens, is people go, I can't mask this. I want to mask this. You can only mask develop, okay? And after you apply develop raw and another tool, it doesn't mean that your image is converted into a JPEG. It just means you don't have develop raw tools anymore. That's all, okay? Your image is still raw, meaning you can get back to your edits at any time. It's just got some other edits applied. Okay, so I'm going to dial some color in here because I don't like the color of it. So it was too red. Okay, so I'm taking out some red and brightening the image. Okay, overall. I might crop a little bit from the foreground. And if we want to do the perspective corrections like I did in Lightroom, that's where you do that here. Okay, so under develop is transform. So if I click this, it's going to try and correct for the building distortion. Okay, now you see what happened is it cropped off the top of the building. So I'm not really happy with that. So instead, I'm just going to go manually. Okay, so one direction allows you to shift the bottom of the image bigger versus this way. Okay, so you kind of just have to play with it a little bit. So I want to go not too far because I want to make sure I don't lose the top of the building. So I'm going to go a little bit. Nope, too much. So literally I have to do minimal adjustment here, like -2, I think. Yeah, I don't want to lose the top. Okay, so that's pretty good. All right, so I'm going to go there. It's not perfectly corrected, but it's better. Okay, then I'm going to go to my cropping. Remember? Okay, so cropping, let's try horizon alignment. And it doesn't want to adjust at all. So when you adjust horizon alignment in an image like this, pick something in the middle. Oh, it did. Okay, so what it's done is it's probably looking like I would look at this pipe on that building and make sure that it is straight. So I'm going to go more like this. So I'm actually going to counteract what Luminar did. And I'm going to go free crop because I want less foreground. I don't want all these bicycle signs. Let's come up a little bit. Okay. The long exposure allowed for the car trails, right? And I might even just crop out that one. Make sure I've got full top. There we go. Like that. Okay. So I'm not so worried about aspect ratio. I like to crop for the image, not for a specific aspect ratio. Okay. So now we've got crop, we've got some adjustments. Okay. Now I'm going to do a little bit of enhance. Again, I don't use this one to any degree, almost never, because it goes way too crazy. Same thing with the sky. That's what you want to avoid. This is over the top. Okay. So minimal, subtle. Okay. Let's try Twilight Enhancer on this one because there is one that is blue. So let's just try blue and see what we get. It's probably going to be really dark. Okay, so it gives us more blue hour for sure. I actually like the emerald preset. It kind of gives like a green tint, but all of them tend to darken the exposure, like really darken the sky down. And I don't necessarily want to darken it so much. Okay, so sky horizon. And in this case, I don't want the dawn. So dawn, I'm just going to turn down the size and the amount. Okay. So I'm not getting any dawn right now. So it's just giving us darkening overall again. If I don't want the amount applying on the subject so much, I can bring it shadows up a little bit. There we go. Okay, but whatever you do with the Twilight Enhancer, so whatever it's applying to the sky, you want it to apply to the scene to to some degree as well, so that it matches, right? If the sky is blue, the foreground's going to have some blue in the shadows as well, okay? Now, okay, let's say we want to turn on these lights. So there's a light post here, and if I look at the other one where I shot later, you can see that there's 1, 2, 3 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there should be. Let's zoom in here. Yeah, there's one, there's one, there's one, and there's one. Okay, so if we want to turn the lights on, there's some really cool things that come with Luminar Neo. neon and glow tool. So yes, magic light will give you the starburst, but you need the light there first. So neon and glow. Using the neon, okay, in the draw mode, okay, and we just have to draw usually like just a dot, okay, and you're going to get this sort of glow. Then we need to change the color because we want the street lights to match what's going on down here, and I don't want it quite so yellow, okay, and not quite so much spread, okay. If I zoom in, I can also get smaller dots, okay. So I'm zoomed into 100%. I think I even had to come smaller because I just want a small dot here, a small dot here, a small dot here, and one more over here. Okay, so see how I've turned the lights on, okay? And I could do that actually in any of the windows as well, just by drawing it. But whatever color I apply here, okay, so we're going to make them more sort of yellow. All right, let's just get that. Get the color you want. Yeah, about like that. Okay, and I don't want too much color, just a little bit of yellow, okay? Like so. Then we go to magic light. Okay, so now when we go to magic light and turn up the intensity, now it's going to add starburst to all of these lights in here too. Now if we don't want that because it's drawing attention over to there, we can just delete them. Okay, so I don't want any of these, and I don't need it added onto, for example, I don't need the stoplight necessarily. It's not bad, but if I don't want the starburst on the stoplight because it's already got its own, I can just turn it off. Okay, now the other trick is adjustments of how you want to have these things look, right? If we look at this light here, look at how many beams it has. It doesn't match, okay? So we need more beams to match. I don't even know how many that is. 1, 2, 3. Does that look about the same? I just guessed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it could be 14 or 15. Let's try that. Okay, so I want them to match somewhat. Okay, then I'm going to make them a little softer. Okay, and not quite so intense. So again, I'm turning the amount up so that I can get, see it better. Okay. But there are my starbursts. And they should look similar to this one, okay? If I want to add one to the green, it's going to add a green starburst. See that? So wherever you add this starburst, it will add it in that color, okay? So that's why I erased it from over here. I could put one on here as well if we want to, but I don't like it. Okay, so there's magic light. And we've turned on the lights, okay? Now I want to tone down this whole area here because it's too orange for my liking, okay? So I'm going to go into color, and I'm going to dial down the saturation of the orange. So see how it's got picking that up, right? And maybe the yellow as well, okay? And I'm going to darken, which is luminance, okay? So luminance is brightness, saturation is intensity, right? And I'm just going to apply it because I don't want these things darkened on the road. So I'm just going to apply it. Let's try object select. And I don't know if it's going to give me, oh, it is good. I'm just picking the windows here with all of these bottles. Perfect. It got the whole building. So let's undo that. I don't want the whole building. Okay, so it got pretty close. It's getting the street, the line there. When you hover over it, don't click until you know that that's the right area. So it's not giving me what I want there. So instead, I'm just going to brush it in. Okay. Softness of your brush is important when, if you want it to blend, you need a high softness. If you're painting around something that has a hard edge, then use less softness. Okay. So I want to define the edge of the windows here. And again, I'm painting in this lowered saturation. Okay. I also don't want it across this streak here, okay? I want the streak to stay red. So now let's see what this tool is doing. Okay. We could have added sunbursts here as well, but I think that those lights are pointing down. See what that's doing to the bottles? So before, really super orange, and now it's just this light. It was a really cool place. I think we ate there. It was like a pizza place, or maybe it was across the street, but it had all these bottles in the window backlit. So I did some photography out here before we went in and had our pizza. Okay, so now we've turned on the lights, right? We've made it more blue. And did I use already Twilight? Yes, I did. Okay. Now I can make some artistic choices. Okay, so in terms of night photography, like I said, you want to make it look like night. Oh, I haven't done a vignette. So vignette, I always do, right? Again, make it dark so you can see it. Let's do something like that. Actually, I want it on the edge. Okay, and I just want it soft. So let's do, there we go. That's looking pretty close to how I want it. Okay. On this one, I might also come and try dramatic. Dramatic is one that actually does really nice job on night photos. It kind of desaturates, but you have the option of, keeping some of the saturation. But it gives you this kind of, if you're used to using Lightroom, it's kind of like clarity. Okay. So see how it's sort of brightening the buildings. I just play with these a little bit here. It's giving me more of like an old-fashioned look, which feels very European, right? So I like that look, right? And to finalize it, I would probably come back and do another LUT, right? So a mood. And there's one that comes with Luminar under Creative, which is sepia. And it's like, if you do it 100%, you get a sepia tone black and white image. But I'll often apply this one at 30%. And you could see what kind of neat things you get here, right? So it's just making the browns. It's making toning down the color, right? Maybe I don't like this one. I might do toning instead. So toning allows you, like I did in the other one, to adjust the shadows and the highlights. So I'm just going to do like a yellowish color in the highlight in the shadows, which applies like a sepia. And then I'm going to do blue in the highlights. So I want to keep that blue sky. How's that? Keep the blue highlights and shadows. There we go. I like that. I like that. Okay, so there's our before and after. Now remember, if I copy and paste these settings, it's going to do everything, including the masks. Okay, so I could do something similar and apply it to this image, but let's just see what happens. So I'm going to do a copy and a paste. Okay, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, see, the color went over the top here. Oh, this is oh, I pasted this on the wrong image. This is an 800 pixel image, not the raw one. Oops. So that's not going to work. That's a finished edited image. So if I copy and paste it onto, let's do this one, for example. Okay. We're going to get weird stuff again because I masked it, but not too bad. Actually, it's not as weird as I thought it might be. It's not as weird as I thought. So we can do all the same things again. I can come back in here under transform, right? Let's do an auto transform. This is taken in Venice in Italy. It straightens as well. Notice that. Okay. I'm just going to undo the edits I've done here. So make sure I'm getting clipping warnings. Oh, you can see the gondola in the middle there, right? And I'm not happy with the color on this one. Let's just try. So that's the color that I was shot at, and it's a little magenta for me. So I'm just going to dial some of that out. And that already looks pretty good. Okay, so this is just Remember, just develop raw. So it's straightening and correcting and brightening. Okay. Let's see what Enhance AI does on this one. That's pretty good. Let's see what Twilight Enhancer does here. Okay, I will need to make sure I have the horizon in the right place again. Okay, so it's up there. And it's just adding more blue. A little much green for my liking. Again, it's doing a nice thing. Okay, Neon and Glow. I don't think we even need this one. Okay, because I don't think I need to turn any lights on. And then Magic Light. Okay, it's only applied. I'm not going to do that one. So it's applied the little sunbursts onto the lights. And we get to choose where we want it. I don't want it on that one either. Okay, that looks good. Now, if I want some to have more of a glow or less of a glow, and I want them to be different, I would just have to apply this tool twice. Okay, so for example, if I want these two to be brighter and these three to be darker, I just apply the tool a second time. Okay, so this one has gone weird because of the masking. Yeah, see, that's the one we did on the windows, so we don't need that one. We can do an edge vignette. That one looks okay. Dramatic looks good here too. Right, so again, we got really close. Not sure I need toning on this one. Highlights. Where are my highlights? I'm going to go with yellow highlights and blue shadows. And just keep the amount down. Okay, and on this one, right, if I want to do like an old world again feel, right, we can go into the LUTs. This was another one I would not do, for example, sun rays. I could do a sky replacement if I wanted to put a night sky in here. So in our DPM sky pack, we've got some night skies. I've got some auroras as well. But let's just try one that has skies and clouds. I'm going to come back to the questions here. So this one actually looks pretty good, right? So in here, sky orientation, let's just get this one set. Come on. There we go. It's actually pretty good. Okay, so it's adding some clouds over the back of the church here. We can move these around a little bit if I want to. I kind of like that. It looks like they're moving, right? Let me try flipping it. No, it was better the other way. I don't mind that. It kind of highlights the difference there between the clouds and the church. I kind of like that, right? Make it a little cooler. I don't mind that at all, actually. Now we have a true night scene, right? That's cool. All right. All right, let me come back over here. Okay. For panorama stitching, Une Granada says, for panorama stitching, I edit each photo, save them as a TIFF, and then use panorama stitching. Do you do it that way too? No, I actually just drop them into the pano first from the raw files and then do my editing afterwards. But the way that you're doing it will work absolutely fine as well. So you're doing a bit of your editing and your raw editing first, pano stitching them, and then tweaking afterwards. Absolutely fine. Yep. For the Paris scene, I didn't do any stitching. Okay. Yeah. That was for the Mount Fuji edit. Yeah. Back in the Mount Fuji edit, the boat, my eye goes to the boat because I can scan the picture left to right. The boat takes up more area. Yes, that's called visual mass. What if the crop up from the bottom to about 1 foot from the edge of the water? Well, let's see. Let's come back in here. Let's see if this one ever finally loaded. Still doesn't want to load. Okay, let's do this one. Okay, so you're suggesting I come up from the bottom to about 1 foot from the edge of the water. Okay, so let's just see what that happens, what that does. It's still not loading. For some reason, these ones do not want to load for me. Let's try it again. Leon says he stitches in raw, which is what I do. Very good edit, James. Thanks very much. Do you ever use the color transfer tool? Not as much as I use the others, but if you have a night photo, like for example, on this night one I could go to, you could apply it in here. I've got so many edits on this one from Mount Fuji. I think it's just taking a really long time for it to load. So now I've got Luminar stuck. I don't use the transfer tool as much as maybe I should. How about that answer? I tend to use the other tools more. But if you get one edit done, like let's say you have a series of images of the boats in Fuji, for example, and you want to apply the same color across all of them, then you could certainly use the color transfer tool, which you'd have to export the image of the boats, save it as a JPEG or something, actually a JPEG, and then add it in the color transfer tool. I'm still waiting for Luminar to load this image here, and it's kind of stuck because I've got a whole bunch of things processing on it, but I will try that crop that you suggested as well. And it's frozen right now. Thank you for the thumbs up, everyone. That's awesome. Let's see, we've got 28 thumbs up, but we got 42 people watching, so let's see if we can get 42 thumbs up. Tell me, did you get some value from this edit today? So watching me go from start to finish and seeing the progression of which tools that I use in which order and how I made a mistake in that order, okay? And I learned my mistake, after I had applied the fog, and I should have done that earlier, okay? So did you learn anything from watching that progression, okay? What's your one takeaway from today's lesson, if we want to call it a lesson? Tell us in the chat. What did you take away from today? I'm still waiting for this to load here. Thank you for the thumbs up. Let me go in here. Let me crop the image in here. So let's take this one. Okay. I haven't flipped it in Lightroom, but I certainly can. Okay. Let's do a flip here. And then I've got it crop freeform. So you're saying up from like up here, maybe? Like this far? Interesting. I don't know. I think it takes off too much of the boat. We lose too much of it. Let's try like that. I don't mind that, actually. Like just kind of like having the edge there. I don't mind that. And that brings Fuji in a lot more. Yeah, cool idea. Maybe even just to the bottom of that part of the boat there. And then it feels crooked. Still feels crooked for some reason. Notice my horizon is a lot straighter here in Lightroom. And that is because I applied, I think, this is done in Photoshop. But let me see my Lightroom edit. Okay, let me just flip this one. Okay. This one is a lot straighter because I believe I applied the camera profiles, and that is done automatically in here. Okay, so when I apply, when you're using Fuji, it applies the profile corrections, including the distortion removal automatically, right? Awesome broadcast as always. Thanks, Kevin. Thank you. General edit sequence, very helpful. Welcome, Brent. Donna said, thanks. Learn to make a virtual copy of an edit to begin a second instead of starting all over. Oh, awesome. Okay, that's a good one to pick up. You'd like to see the color transfer tool on different photos? Okay. And David, using masking. Awesome. Okay, so profile under here, and see how it's definitely like it affects the distortion, and that's where you're getting that stretching out of the horizon, right? So when I do the cropping, let's make sure I'm cropping. Let's come just right there. Let's make sure my horizon is straight-ish. Not a bad suggestion. Yeah, it works as a pano. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe a little, oh, no, there we go. A little bit more on the bottom. Just to the bottom of that blue thing. How about that? Yeah, it bothers me cutting that blue thing off. How about that? I don't mind that at all. Manning the stove tonight. Oh, I thought you were going to say you were making stovetop stuffing. Learn too many options to choose. Awesome. Well, I'm glad. Mr. Poppy G. Marco says, thank you. It was a great learning. As I progressed through the course, I realized that I have to move out of photo Luminar to Luminar out of photo. Okay. So are you using Apple Photos or Windows Photos, Marco? Because that's definitely it's definitely a more powerful tool, but it integrates really well with Mac Photos as your sort of catalog, and it eliminates the issue of Luminar's catalog becoming really bloated. But make sure you watch that lesson on using it as a plugin for photos, because it's really important how you take the image over there. Mike just showed up. Well, you missed a whole bunch, Mike. But you can watch the replay, and I've got some edits that we did in Luminar. I can show you the before and after. So here's our original image. You missed that, and you missed this one. So we started with the same before, and we did 2 different edits on that one. And we also did an edit on this one. I'll show you the before. Oh, that's the 800 one again. We did a before and after on. Oh, it's called 800 pics. Oh, what am I? That's what I'm doing. I resized the this one with a weird ending of the file name. That's why I'm confused. So it definitely is a raw file. And this one we did some editing to fix a night photo, and in this one turned on the lights. Marco's using Apple. Okay. Been using Luminar as a plugin. I see the power of the catalog. Awesome. EST should be in sleepy time. Well, it's only 8 o'clock. It's only 8 o'clock. It's not even sleepy time here. We barely have supper at 8 o'clock, so not sleepy time for us. And then I also did this one. Oops. I also did this one, and we changed the sky on this one in a different edit. So this one we did a before and after. Copied and pasted the settings just to recap from the other night image, and changed the sky just to give it a little bit more interest. Okay. I could add more yellow in this one because I feel like I want to enhance this color more. So let's try this color contrast. There we go. Look at that. There we go. I feel like I wanted to have more yellow. There we go. And I don't want it to necessarily apply to the sky. So we could warm it up a little. And we could give our highlights. Don't want to make them pink, okay? And then I could just mask it off of the sky or put it where I want it, remember? So all of these things are... Ooh, that does a nice job on the lights, doesn't it? Right? I don't like it over here, so I'm going to mask it off of that area. Okay, so I'm just going to remove it off of that area because it's bringing a highlight up there that I didn't like. Okay. So always do before and after on the tool, and now I'm seeing another highlight that I don't like. So again, and if I just sort of do a quick erase down the side here, because I don't want attention. Oh, and we've got a sparkle. Look at this. See that? we've got a sparkle on the edge there of the table. So it looks like silverware or something picked up from the magic light. So I can just come in here. I don't think it's there. Oh, it is picking up. Yeah, look at that. It picked up on a knife. Like it's a knife on a table. So I picked up that. So constantly doing these before and afters, okay, really allows you to dial in which the tool, if is a tool doing a good thing, picking up little things that you want to minimize. And I think I'm going to crop this one a little bit because I want to get rid of this bright bit on the far right here, this light. So I'm just going to come in and crop out the light. And I think I did something on this other one here too. And there's like all these boxes here. So I'm just going to come in here as well to get rid of some of that. And maybe a little bit from the bottom. But I like this ladder down here. So I'm just going to leave it more square. Like so. Let's see what that does. And I think in my original edit, I did come and darken this corner a little bit more. So I would do another develop here. Oh, there's the cropped version. Okay. And then just put it in this corner. Okay. So I just want to darken that corner. Okay. So see what that's doing. And if I want to, you can add a second linear gradient. Okay. And I just want to darken in from this edge a little bit as well, right? So see how that's just minimizing those edges, the bright edges. I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah. Would you eat there? I would eat there. If we want to pick up a little bit more highlight detail or shadow detail, I certainly can do that. And again, I can come all the way back to develop raw at the very bottom and either, brighten a bit more or just lift the shadows, or I can do an edit on top, right? So wait for all of these things to apply. I can do another version of develop on top and just bring up the shadows a bit. Okay. And now what I'm thinking is, let's see if it picks up the water. Okay, it should. Yep. Okay, there's no water over here. Right? And let me just add some blue into the water. Maybe not. It's kind of overruling. It's overruling the yellow of the building here. So I like the yellow in the reflection, and it shouldn't be picking up there like that. That's actually the wall. It's not the water. That's the edge of the canal. Let's just see. Just a little bit of blue. There we go. So some really cool edits, right? Let's see. Venice at night has a lot of dark alleys. You might want to darken the left, as I did. See? I'm way ahead of you, Marco. Is it possible to put light on the gondolas without making it look off? Let's try the new light depth tool. And let's find out. So I like to narrow it down. Okay. Oh, I think we can. Look at that. Now it's lighting up everything, but if we just mask it here, right? We just want it here. Yes, we can. Like that. I think that works. Maybe even a little bit less on the water too. So it's just on the gondola. So yes, we can. They're covered up at night, so there's no person in there. And if you wanted to, the color transfer. So let's see the color transfer tool that somebody was asking about. If you want to do a similar color. Okay, so here's another night image. You have to have an image that you want to pull a color from. So there's a stock image that I've added, and it's very blue and orange. So let me just pull in that one and see what happens when we try color matching. Okay, color transfer. Okay, gives us a very different look. But I like that too, right? If we pick a different color, right? This one's got blue and red. This is literally just a bokeh pack, and it's got blue and red, right? We get a very different color. If I add another image, let me just see if I got, what have I got here? So now this is the thing, you have to go find an image. Night workshop. Okay, so here's another one with blue and red. Okay, again, different. Let's just go add one of my bokehs. Under textures. Oops, where are we? Textures. So then you have to find them. You really have to know what you're looking for in terms of color, right? So what color do we want to add here? So I want one that's maybe blue and yellow. So it really doesn't matter what the image is of. It's just about the colors, right? That one might be interesting. That one could be interesting. That was going to give us a lot of orange. Okay. That one's going to give us a lot of yellow. No, 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 no. Oh, let's try that one. There we go. That's kind of neat. Right? So does that answer your question about color transfer? So literally you can use any image, right? It doesn't even matter if it's a picture of something, as you can see, right? These are just bokehs. I could pick from my texture pack. There was another one here that sort of had blue and red that I thought might be good. Let's try. That one's got more red. Let's try that one. Oops. Where's the red one? There it is. Okay, so that one's more red. And now that they've been added, you can just switch back and forth to them really easily, right? So you could pick one that's orange. Okay. You could pick something that is, there's a sunset. Right. Here's one from Cuba that's got really faded colors. So blue and green. It's going to give us something very different, right? See that? So yes, color transfer will work well. I actually don't mind this one. A little bit red for my liking, but not bad. Great suggestion, Marco. I think that was Marco. How's the light on the gondolas, Donna? Good? This is another one that I edited. This is one that I took in Japan as well. And again, if you want to correct for some of this distortion, you have to use the transform tool in develop, and that goes too far. So if I'm going to correct, I want to leave some of the distortion on it, to be honest, because I like the fact that it's wide angle and it feels big and imposing, right? So I want to correct it part way, and by doing that, it kind of helps eliminate some of the problems on the side. So I'm just going to do it part way like this, right? And I'm going to make sure I got chromatic aberration. Okay, so distortion correction is going to sort of solve some of that edge distortion for wide angles, okay? And let's see what else. Okay, so noise reduction, I could do on this one, but I shot it at a fairly low ISO as well. Right, I'm going to make it bluer. And let's check our clipping. So the only thing clipping are the lights themselves, which is fine. Okay, so I don't necessarily want to worry about that. Okay, because lights, if they're a light source, they actually should be clipping. Okay, so don't try and eliminate, like don't make your whites so low that they're just non-existent, because it'll make your whole image look flat. Okay. So that's actually, and my exposure was bang on, right? Then I'm going to crop to correct the tilt, because I feel like it's tilting. Give it a second here. Good night, McSteel. Okay, so I'm using the lines of the middle section here to get it straight. And I think I am going to crop out this one on the right here just because it's so bright. So I think I'm going to crop that out. Right? And this tree as well. So I want to simplify and a little bit less foreground, like so. Actually, let's see if that feels straight now. Okay, so I'm looking at the center of the image. So whenever you are doing straightening, look at the lines in the center. Okay, so I'm looking at these two here and the lines here. Okay. Wait for it to crop. Okay, so that solved a lot of the problems already. So remember, we want to do a lot of these things early on. I'm just doing a quick edge vignette like that. That looks good. I am going to do a magic light, I think, on this one because I like the lights glowing, right? But see, again, the difference. I might not want this one to have a glow, so I'm going to delete it from here, right? So I don't want to emphasize this one. I want to emphasize these. And let's give them some more beams. You can also rotate. Oh, notice it's rotating over here. Okay, so it's picking up something over here, and I can't get to it to delete it because it's cropped out. And let's just do them a little bit smaller. Okay, so there's our little glows. There we go. Okay. Now, what happens if we do color transfer on this one? Okay, so some of the ones we just did, I could literally import the other image. I could export it and import it here, right? As one of the, it's a reference image is what it's called, okay? Not a fan of that one. This blue and red one might be kind of cool. Okay, so it's too red for me, right? So you can certainly get a consistent, look to your night images this way, but this one's not working for me. Okay, so that's a no on that one. Right. Again, I still might try Twilight Enhancer on one like this. And let's try, I actually like the mauve one because it gives kind of a pink glow as well, right? This was early morning also. So we got up and went super early, right? So let's make sure my horizon is in the right place. So yeah, there's the horizon. Okay, so it's just going to give me that pink glow around the pagoda, okay? There's no water, so I shouldn't have to worry about that. I definitely want the lights brighter. Now it's coloring this light, which I'm not crazy about, and it's coloring these lights. Okay, so this is where the relight comes in, right? So if I don't want so much saturation, look at the light. See, that's solving that problem, okay? I could also mask it off of there, okay? Which I might do. Sky Global is going to affect your masking. So make sure you're not, when you're around trees and so on. And let's just try one more thing. It's too dark. There we go. Okay, now I don't want it on this tree over here, so I'm just going to erase from this tree. It's kind of giving this a little pink glow, and I'm not sure if I want it on these lights either, so let's see what it's doing. Okay, so it's darkening the top of the sky, right, and giving us more of a pink glow in the background. I don't mind that at all. Now I'm going to come back to develop, and I want to darken the left side of the image. So I'm just going to use a linear gradient in here. because I just want to darken this corner down here and this tree, like so. I'm going to do some structure. Ooh, that looks nice. I'm just going to do that one overall. And let's see what Enhance AI does. See, I don't like it. Although, look what it's doing to the building, right? So pay attention to when you crank these things up, look what it's doing, right? So if I just do object select and I just put it on the building, right? Let's see what that does. Nice. Okay, let's do object select again. See, I'm getting these things one by one here. Probably could have just masked with a brush and be done with it. Sometimes I just mask with a brush. It's just easier. Look at that. That's actually doing a nice job on the front of the pagoda. Okay. Again, you get to control it because I don't want it so much on the bright area. Really, really control your edits. So I do a lot of masking. I might even go in and darken this tree again and just literally just mask it in with the brush to this tree because I just don't want this tree standing out so much. That's better. And this thing stands out too much too. That's also better. Okay. So really control your light, right? Look at it upside down. I don't like this, whatever this is in the background. Okay. So again, I might either clone it out or use the erase tool, right? If you're not entering a contest, there are no rules about these things. If it's just for yourself, do what works, right? If you want to erase something, erase it. If you're entering a competition, make sure you follow the rules, right? That's the key. Some camera clubs, like I said, do not allow you to erase anything or do any kind of cloning if you want to enter it, right? Come on, erase it, erase it. It's still thinking about it. Take care, Diane. Good night. I'm just going to finish this one up and we're going to call it a night as well. We have, what do we have? Beef stroganoff waiting for us. Okay, now when I erased this one, it went crooked right there. So I'm just going to see if I can fill that in and make it straight. It's still crooked, but it looks better. But you see the difference? Just taking those little signs out over there. Again, things that draw your eye. Okay. I'm also would probably either crop a little bit more. In fact, I will crop a little bit more over on this side because I'm still getting a bit of that starburst over there. Okay. I could also uncrop and try to remove the star from there because for some reason Magic Light is adding a starburst to something out of the edge of the frame that's been cropped out. Yeah, it's taking a really long time to apply. Any other questions? We're down to, we got 42 likes now. So awesome. Thank you very much. So we had 42 people. We got 41 likes. So thank you very much for that. There we go. Oh yeah. See, it's got that weird glow over there. Actually, let's just see if we can get rid of it because it is using Magic Light over there. So I might have to just trick it. And one thing that makes, one thing I want to address while this is happening is that if you find that Luminar is running really slowly, make sure that your system settings and your actual specs of your computer are not to blame. Because if you have, for example, if you have, for example, a computer that is full, okay? So my hard drive, I've only used 700 gigs of 2 terabytes. If your hard drive is more than 60% full, your computer will start to slow down regardless of what you have on it. Okay. If you don't have enough RAM, right, and you can find that again under your specs on your computer. I'm using a Mac, so you can find that here. So I have an M3 with 24 gigs of RAM, right? So make sure that your computer specs are not letting you down. And if you are not sure, ask me, put a comment below the video if you're watching this later. And if you're not sure if your specs are enough to run Luminar Neo or any photo editing software, to be honest. The other thing that I've discovered that if you are using Windows, and I'm going to be trying to do a video on this, if you are using Windows and you use OneDrive, it can cause a serious issue. So if you are using OneDrive, take a look at that, because it might actually have your catalog on OneDrive, which means that every time you access Luminar Neo, you have to access that in the cloud. So everything is going to slow down. That's going to be your bottleneck right there. So take a look at your settings, and if you are using OneDrive, seriously consider turning it off, because everything that's in your pictures folder gets put onto OneDrive because it's for syncing. It is not a true backup system. Okay. All of your stuff is on OneDrive and not anywhere else. Okay. My crop is taking forever to finish, but I'm going to finish that image up later. I'm going to remove the magic light and then crop it off a little bit on that side. So I hope you enjoyed this live stream today and you got a lot out of the full edits. We've done the night photography. We added some magic light. We did some color transfers. Thanks for that suggestion. And that's why it's great for you to attend these live. So people that are posting these questions and things in the chat when we're live, I can then apply their suggestions. So we had a suggestion of a crop on the boat. We tried that. We had a suggestion of the color transfer tool, and we tried that. So thanks for that. And remember that if you can't watch live, you can always watch the replay later. You just don't get the interaction, and you get to give me suggestions and ask questions. So that is the benefit. We'll be back again on first Sunday of December, and that will be at the earlier time slot of 2 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so that will be better for our European folks, but it will leave our Australians a little bit out because that's very early in the morning for them. So unfortunately, we won't see our Australians probably at that point. But those of you in Europe, we will see you. So I've yet to pick the topic for that one. So if you have any suggestions, send in your suggestions. You can comment on this video below or any of the others, and I will take those into consideration. Recently, we've done adding light. I've done erasing things. We've done black and white conversions a few times. Now we've done Luminar Complete Edit. We've done a Lightroom workflow. So I'd love to know what kinds of things you would like to see done in the live stream. So thanks again for joining, everyone, and I hope to see you in a couple of weeks.